So, uh, I had mentioned little bit yesterday the purpose of this workshop. So here we will be, we'll try to go as much deep as we can to understand the scriptures and mainly the three foundational scriptures of Indian spirituality: the Vedas, the Upanishads, and the Gita. And before we do that, in addition to the scriptures, we have kept like one session the on Kalidas, Bhartrihari, and the Subhashita literature. Uh, the reason for this is that whatever creations that we get, whether it's by Kalidas or Bhartrihari, or even by Vatsyayana, who gives us the Kama Sutra, Patanjali gives us the Yoga Sutras, Panini gives us the most highly technical text called Ashtadhyay. The beauty of all these scriptures is that whether Vatsyayana is writing Kama Sutra or text of that nature, or Patanjali is writing Yoga Sutra, which is a Shastra, or Chanakya Kautalya is giving us the Arthashastra, or other texts dealing with the 64 arts, or texts giving us the where we find the scientific heritage of India. All these texts, not a single Shastra is devoid of what is known as the keynote of Indian culture, or the foundation of Indian culture, that is spirituality. No text is devoid of spirituality. No author, whether someone is dealing with the highly technical text or whatever the content of that text, the Shastra may be, is not away from the real philosophy of creation. I'll give you certain examples to explain you how even Panini, how Vatsyayana, how many other scientists, the seers and sages who dealt in with the scientific elements, whether someone is commenting or writing a scripture on chemistry or physics or metallurgy or water science or architecture or music, everywhere we find that these scientists, they lived a life of discipline. They themselves were the rishis, realized people, and it is they who built this culture. Those who built this civilization, and there lies the strength of this civilization and this culture. That is why, even though history has the record of so many civilizations which existed around, we get a list of 46 civilizations which existed on this earth. But out of these 46, 45 civilizations have gone into oblivion. There's no trace of it. We hear, or we know a little bit about the Mayan civilization, the Greek, the Roman. 45 have no living presence. The only civilization, the only culture, the Indian civilization, the Indian culture, after so many thousands of years, has a living presence. It continues to live. It continues to live after so many thousands of years. So what has been the strength of this civilization? Strength of this culture is the spirituality. This is what is the soul of India, soul of this nation. Every nation, therefore, Sri Aurobindo very beautifully explains, like any, uh, whenever you have time, can pick up this book. Earlier the name was Foundations of Indian Culture by Sri Aurobindo. Now the name is changed to Renaissance in India. So read that and see what clarity he has brought out what India is. India's literature, its religion, its scriptures, its politics, its art, its music. In every field, there has been no field of knowledge where the Indian seers and sages have not contributed originally something. Pick up any branch of knowledge. You'll find some original contribution from the ancient Indian seers and sages. Going very deep into the matter and combining it, not just remaining satisfied with the technical aspect or certain findings, but combining it, reconciling it with the deeper realizations, self-realizations. Because this is again was the very aim of life, the very aim of yoga, the very aim of education. Atma va are drashtavya, shrotavya, mantavya, nididhyasitavya. It means the whole aim of life, the whole aim of yoga, the whole aim of education was the Atman, the self, has to be seen, drashtavya. Shrotavya, its voice has to be heard. Mantavya has to be thought of. The mind has to get engaged in the matter of self. Nididhyasitavya, to be contemplated. This Atma Jnana, or the self-realization, was the ultimate goal of human life. And towards this, every aspect of life in India, every aspect of life, everything connected with human life, every activity is connected with human life, whatever be the activities, right from the physical to the psychological. Everything was organized around this central goal, the central aim, the ultimate goal, self-realization. If things are done without relating it to the self, then it's a wastage. It doesn't contribute anything towards the evolution of the soul, towards the progress of the soul. So they created a language which was in harmony with this central principle. They created scriptures, they created the system, the discipline, everything was in harmony with this central principle. Okay, Atman has to be realized, is the first thing. Every activity, human activity, all that we do, physically, emotionally, mentally, they have to be the expressions of this realization of the inner truths. Realization of, or expression of the realization of the truth, expression of a higher consciousness in which one lives. That created this civilization, that created the life here, that created the culture here. Culture is the inner soul of a nation. Civilization is the outer body. Between culture and civilization, the relationship is the relationship between body and the soul. The culture is the soul, the inside story, A civilization is the outside story, the outer aspect of the nation. And when we come to India, why this nation is important, why this culture is important, why this civilization is important. That India, as Sri Aurobindo again says, is not a piece of earth. It's not a piece of earth, mountains, rivers, forests. This is not India. Someone had written, there was a dialogue between one guru, spiritual guru, with some Westerners who came to visit India. So he asked, what have you seen in India? So they showed all the pictures that they had taken. Temples, forests, mountains, everything. He said, this is not India. You have not captured India. You have captured the outside, the sceneries, the views. The view is nice. We say that, oh, the view is so nice here. There's so much of silence in this place. So should the whole world come here to live because so much of silence is here? That was not the aim. Are all the people who are living here, the villagers here, all those people who live here, are they realized people because they live so much in so much of silence? No. What has been the soul's aspiration? And how do we fulfill that aspiration? What do we do to fulfill that aspiration? To realize the soul's aspiration. So this created a beautiful discipline. The seers and sages of ancient India, they followed a certain path of discipline or disciplined life. And that discipline was responsible for creating this culture, this civilization. And which at present we are away from that discipline. Forget about that discipline. We have no discipline at all. If we very ruthlessly analyze our own lives or every activity of ours, the human life at present, at every field, the field of education, at work, at home, where is the discipline? And how do we relive that? And what is the task at present? So this is where a recovery of the past is necessary. To get insights from the past. The recovery of the past doesn't mean to become the past. All that was beautiful in the past, all that was insightful, deep in the past, the greater realizations of the past. Again, there's a tendency of going back and becoming the past or imitating the past. That's not the thing which is expected if we are looking forward for a progressive evolution. The past has to be recovered because the real glories and the greatness of this nation lies in the past. We have to see very carefully what made the past so glorious. What made the past so glorious, so great? Why past is important? What did they do to create these glories? Why the whole humanity, or at least a group of conscious people in the whole world, they are looking forward to know and learn the past of India. What was created in that past. That needs to be recovered. This is the first task that we need to recover the past. Why this recovery? We are talking about recovery because we have lost the connection for a long time, for centuries at least. We have lost that connection with the past. For centuries together, in this nation, the people have fallen into certain state of inertia, losing connection with the past. So therefore, when in one of the writings, one of the letters, Sri Aurobindo writes to his brother Barin, who was imprisoned in uh, Andaman. So he wrote like, why India is suffering? Why is this decline? That was a question. And to that Sri Aurobindo replied, India has never been poor in any field, neither materially nor spiritually. There has been never material poverty. India was the richest in the world. That was the reason why invaders came. And the amount of riches which were looted from this country is enormous. Ship loads of things were carried from here. The wealth of manuscripts, the material wealth which was there, the intellectual wealth was carried, looted, or destroyed. The damage has been much by the invaders. And compared to that damage, what is happening in the last, say, 50, 60 years or 70 years, the damage of the soul of this nation is much more dangerous than the damage which happened or created by the invaders. So this is where now the task is even more intense. How do we recover the past? Not just the recovery of the past, what Sri Aurobindo says, not just the recovery of the past, but giving a new shape, new form, taking insights from the past, new forms of literature, new forms of philosophy, new forms of religion, new forms of art, in every field, new forms of politics. But this new should be in harmony with the foundational principles of the past, not away from the principles. The foundation which created this beautiful civilization and the country. So to the reply, in reply to Baren's letter, Sri Aurobindo says that India was never poor. There was no material poverty. And there was no spiritual poverty also. Because spirituality is something which is the very soul of this nation. If India was not materially poor, spiritually poor, why did it decline? What happened to this nation? So Sri Aurobindo points out that again, somewhere we lost this connection. And we lost this connection to such extent that we have forgotten our original status, originality, the original thought power, the Maulik Chintan Shakti, the original thought power we have lost. For so many thousands of years, we have not been able to create another Panini, another Patanjali, another Bharadwaj, another Vasishtha. It's not just creating another greater than those. But at the same time, there has been no time that these rishis are not born. They're there all the times. But still, the mass has lost connection with that. Originality, the original thought power is lost. We have been imitating the rest of the world for several years, but we are not being original. That maulikta, that originality is not there. So everything is happening, or this tendency is grown in us that we do it in terms of imitations, what the other nations do. There's no harm in imitating. What Sri Aurobindo points out is assimilation, atmasat karana. To make it a part of ourself, atmasat, assimilation. Assimilation of what? All that is good and conducive to our aspiration, our soul. To take that much and assimilate. Assimilate all that is good in others, but not to imitate. Blindly imitate. And how much of imitation happens, we all know that. So assimilation of all that is good, wherever the truth has manifested in whatever form, we need to recognize that and assimilate. Whether in the field of religion, in the field of politics, in the field of art, architecture, music, literature, in whatever field. The search has to be for the truth, wherever truth has manifested in whatever form. Doesn't matter in which group, in which sampradaya, in which religion, which state, which nation, which community. Recognition of the truth in everything and being. That has been our approach. That was the approach of the seers and sages, to see the truth and reject the falsehood, utterly reject the falsehood. All that doesn't contribute towards the progressive evolution of ourselves. To strongly reject that and accept with intensity all that is good for the soul's progress. They had this progressive mentality. We see when it says, Ano Bhadra Kratavu Yantu Vishwata. Such a beautiful, powerful prayer you find in the Vedas. It says, let noble thoughts, Bhadra Kratava, the thoughts which can help in our soul's progress, Ayantu Sarvishwata, from all sides, only noble thoughts. They allowed in themselves only noble thoughts and strongly rejected all the negative or all that didn't contribute towards the progress of the soul. That was the foundation. That was the approach. We are now away from that approach. And we need to recover the past. We have been, as Swami Vivekananda says, we have been singing merely the glories of the past for centuries. We have been singing the glories of our seers and sages. There has been no attempt to manifest and develop all the qualities which made the seers, which made them the rishis. We sing the praise of Vasishtha, we sing the praise of Panini, but we don't make any attempt to what made Panini Panini, or what made Patanjali. The qualities, the gunas, what discipline they followed to become that, the tapas is missing. So this is why the fire is missing. That's why Swami Vivekananda said that we have heard in that present condition, he said, in that condition, when Swamiji was moving like a like fiery monk, spreading the message of spirituality, spreading the message of Hinduism, the true religion, the universal religion, or the true philosophy of Vedanta, the practical Vedanta. So he said a very remarkable statement of Swami Vivekananda. He said, "We have heard enough of Krishna's flute. We have heard enough of Krishna's flute. What we need is Shiva's Tandava. Tandava of Shiva. That fire we need. Now Krishna's flute has made us sleep. We need to rise and do the Tandava." So Sri Aurobindo, in one of his poems, the only poem he has written in Sanskrit, Bhavani Bharati. So he calls every community in the society, people from every walk of life, that what has happened to you? What has happened to you all that you have forgotten your own swabhava and swadharma? Again, one of the most important contributions of our culture, how much importance was given to the swabhava and swadharma. Every aspect of the human life, every aspect of the life was again regulated, organized, executed by following the dictation of the swabhava. We have forgotten that. We are not leading our life by being regulated by our own swabhava. We have forgotten our swadharma. This is the reason why we have declined. Yeah. I'm just putting the question. We'll discuss again. But throughout, this question will come up again and again. What is Swabhava? But for the present, since the word has come, reflect. What is Swabhava? My own innate nature. What is my soul's aspiration? What my soul wants? What is my soul? My inner being. What it wants? What is its nature? For example, like if the soul's nature is perfection, so I must aspire to be perfect in every field of my life, every aspect of my life. So when I am aspiring for that and executing that and regulating all my actions towards achieving perfection, so I am following my swabhava. Because this is the soul's nature. So one has to grow more and more conscious of the ever perfect nature of the soul and regulate all the actions, execute all actions in accordance to soul's nature.
Could be misunderstood as like if I am with temper, if I am short tempered, I say it's my
Temperament is, no, temperament is different. No, temperament, okay. Temperament will come the next stage. How do I want to achieve the perfection? In what field? What, like someone maybe has a temperament or has a inclination towards music. Through music, he will try to achieve the perfection. Someone has a research temperament, research bent of mind. The temperament will be different, but through the temperament, through that, one will try to achieve the perfection. First, we need to grow more and more conscious of this nature of the soul, and then how it wants to grow. So that becomes the execution part becomes the swadharma. That is swadharma. How this is going to be achieved? Suppose perfection. We take one aspect, the ever perfect nature of the soul. And how do we want to achieve the perfection following our own temperament is our swadharma. So a musician's swadharma is to follow the path of music, or the hero warrior. So his swadharma, he will follow that to achieve the perfection in that field. The paths are different, the temperament is different. So this is how my soul wants to grow. I may be a nature lover, so through that my soul grows. I may be a very technical person, I may be a speaker, I may be something, whatever it is. The execution part. Swabhav is the inner nature. How the uh, how what is how do you execute? The execution part is the swadharma. It getting translated into the action. Don't I mean Swabhav is still deeper than personality. Swabhav is uh, the the very souls, the nature of the very soul in that. Not desire even the inner. You you see that there is a soul in us, this Atman, and the nature of the Atman is the Swabhav. Okay. That Swabhav can manifest in depending upon what temperament one has. You help that soul to grow. So dharma is like what you do to, you know, yeah, bring it out. Is the swadharma. DNA, let's not use that term. It's a modern convenience that we are using, but here it will be deeper.
So in our study of psychology, so many thousands of years of human beings, is there like a model or framework of how many swabhavas are there and how many manifest, like a number?
How many swabhavas? No, that will be difficult. There can be different temperaments, but the swabhav is like your Atman and my Atman at the essential level, they are not different. So it has its own perfect nature. It's perfect. It's true. It's like that. So how it wants to grow to its fullness, that depends upon the swadharma, the temperament. Like following my path. Like for example, like this is where we need. I'll discuss more about it in the next session when we come to uh, the yoga session. There can be infinite paths. There's no end to it. But to grow through these paths, to grow more and more conscious of that ever perfect nature of the soul. So that is what Swami Vivekananda, Sri Aurobindo gave more stress on it, to become more and more conscious of the ever perfect nature of the soul. That is what is education. That is what is yoga. That is what is sadhana. Through that, yes. Essentially. No, I didn't get you. How it is? It is no that essential. It is always linked with the essential you only. Essentially, it will be one to realize the perfection of that, the ever perfect nature of the soul. Essentially, it is that. But how do I realize that? This is where the difference comes. This is where your swadharma, your temperament, everything comes. For all the because it's always ever perfect. Now see what happens. We'll discuss more about it in the yoga session when I tell you. When the spirit, the ultimate reality, it becomes many. We'll be discussing again and again, we'll be repeating it maybe few times the same thing. The ultimate reality, it becomes many. That one unity of consciousness, it fragments itself, right? And when the spirit becomes the matter, when the spirit becomes the matter, it has a purpose, with a purpose, without not without purpose. Okay. So when we come to know about what is the dharma, what is the swadharma, is my dharma, my ultimate dharma is to explore and know what is that purpose. Why am I born here? Why am taken birth into that? Now there is one more thing. Essentially, the soul is one, that unity of consciousness. But at the gross level, that unity of consciousness is at loss, is completely lost. There's no unity of consciousness at the apparent level. Essentially, the unity of consciousness is there. So this part, in the Vedic language, this part, the spirit fragmenting itself and becoming the gross matter where the unity of consciousness is lost, is called the involution, nimesha. Nimesha, that it becomes finite. The infinite becomes finite. The immeasurable becomes measurable. The one becomes many. The formless becomes formed. This is what is called the whole journey of involution, nimesha. But that's not the end of the story. This is just one part of the story, that the God becoming man, or the spirit becoming matter, the formless becoming formed, the ultimate reality becoming this phenomenal world, the one becoming many. This is just one part of the story. Now, what is the purpose? The Swabhav will not change. If you were taking Swabhav in a very ordinary sense, like sense of temperament, yeah. But Swabhav is like the if you take it the essential nature of the soul, so that is, yeah. So towards that we all must grow. Towards that we all must grow. But if we say in the sense of temperament, yeah. Yes. और ये तो उसका स्वभाव है, झूठ बोलना उसका स्वभाव है, उसे टेलिंग लाइज इज हिज स्वभाव, बट दैट्स नॉट स्वभाव, मे बी हिज टेम्परामेंट, इट्स नॉट द स्वभाव. So now the journey is like this one into the many, coming to become many, where the essential unity is lost. Now this unity of consciousness has to be recovered. This is the task. So this process of recovering the unity of consciousness means what is lost, what is forgotten, to bring it back is the story of evolution. And it continues. It is an eternal cycle of spirit becoming matter and matter aspiring to become spirit. And this whole cycle of involution and evolution was given the name of yajna in the Vedic language. Yajna. So yajna is nothing but giving. The spirit gives itself for this task of becoming many. And the multiplicity must give itself to become conscious of its original nature. This is the yajna, offering ones. The spirit becoming matter or giving itself to become the multiplicity or the matter, the gross, and the matter, the gross, giving itself, offering itself to become conscious of its essential nature, that unity of consciousness. So, this is the whole journey of involution and evolution. This cycle, eternal cycle, was given the name of yajna. This, why it was given this name of yajna? Because without offering ourselves, opening ourselves to the higher force. So, yesterday we were discussing about surrender. How do we surrender? The surrendering means offering, self giving, means keeping ourselves open to the higher forces, not living a rigid life, not by being rigid, enough plasticity, openness towards the higher force, higher light, higher truth. Because the truth, the light that we see here, the truth that we see here, the world, the limited world in which we live here, these are not all. This is not the totality. Beyond this, there is a greater light, greater world, greater truth, towards which we must grow, towards which we must become conscious. So this is where the sadhana, the yoga, the education is necessary. The discipline is necessary. How do we grow towards that? How do we open ourselves? What are the obstacles?
So these two words are actually make sense, evolution and what is the Sanskrit?
Nimesha and Unmesha. Nimilana, Unmilana. Okay.
Symbols for God and God.
Can be.
The God,
Avatarana has a different meaning.
God in the Gita,
Taking avatar. Avatar concept is different than the involution and evolution. Okay. So Nimesha means limiting. It's a mechanism of limitation. Involution. So by following a mechanism of limitation, the infinite, the unlimited, the immeasurable becomes limited, finite, and measurable. Formless becomes formed. That is why a mother is called Mata. A mother is called Mata. Most beautiful word, Mata. Comes from the root sound Ma. Ma means to measure. So that is why one of the names in Lalita Sahasranama is Aghatana Ghatana Patiyasi. Aghatana Ghatana Patiyasi means the one who makes the impossible possible. One who makes the impossible possible. And what is the impossible? The immeasurable can be measured. Measuring the immeasurable, finiting the infinite. This is the Aghatana Ghatana, making the impossible possible. Because it's the mother who gives a finite shape to the infinite. So in the mother, in the womb, the infinite, the immeasurable becomes measured. So that is why she is called Mata. She is the measurer, giving a finite shape to the infinite. Mata. The ta element adds the sense of agency, one who does. Yes. Like kru means to do, one who does is karta. Ma, to measure, one who measures is Mata. Pa, to protect, one who protects is Pita. Da, to give. Da, to give. So one who gives is Data. Ni, to lead, one who leads is Neta. Not the usual politicians are neta. Neta is the true leader. Neta, one who leads. Neta. Dha is to hold, to create. One who creates or one who holds in himself everything is vidhata. Dhata, vidhata. Sruz is to create. Srashta is one who creates. Okay. So this ta element, it adds the sense of agency, the doer, one who does. So now this whole process of infinite becoming finite, the immeasurable becoming the measured one, this whole process of involution and evolution, whole process by which the unity becomes divided, and again the divided reattains to the unity, this whole process is called yajna. And yajna was again the foundation, because this was very clearly stated by the seers and sages, to grow by giving. To grow by giving. And you can apply this principle in any aspect of life, any sphere of life. Those who do not give can never grow. Giving. To grow by, this is what is the philosophy of yajna. Ahuti, offering. To grow by giving. By giving means by opening. Yes, to grow by giving. Vedas. This is the foundational principle, to grow by giving. More you give, more you grow. Yes, opening, surrendering, offering, opening oneself by giving. Not physically giving something. It can be translated into physical form like the outer yajna, but in the sense of inner yajna, it is opening ourselves more, like the yajna that is happening in the Prakriti. See how a flower blooms, because it gives itself to the light. It opens itself to the light. The more it opens, more it blooms. So keeping ourselves in that state of openness towards the higher light, towards the higher truth. So this was the foundation, this was the life that the seers and sages lived. That is why they created a beautiful foundation, beautiful culture, strong. Strong in the sense it has the strength to stand on its own leg. In spite of, that is why we see in spite of so many invasions, so many things that is happening, that happened, it still maintains its life. It has its living presence. And this culture, in all its aspects, in the form of music, art, architecture, name any branch. At the foundation level, maybe before I end this session, I'll give you one or two examples from the technical shastras, how the seers and sages or the scientists, they were always aware of the foundational principle, their aspiration, the whole philosophy of creation, and they executed everything by being regulated by that inner force, by the force of the Atman, Atmabala. Now see, to give one example, Panini has given us a text, Ashtadhyay. It's a highly technical text. All those who know about the computer language, they will understand it better, what technicality, what technique Panini followed in creating this Shastra, Ashtadhyay. It works like a perfect software programming. perfect software programming. And ordinary people with whatever the knowledge of Sanskrit maybe cannot understand Panini because it's the language is different. It's a technical language like C++, Java, or whatever computer language. But he has encoded more than 300 millions of words, explanation to or derivation of a formation of more than 300 millions of words through this small text, which is considered to be the greatest grammar book in the world. The textbook, Panini's text, is very very small. One can carry it in one's pocket. Very small book, just 4,000 sentences, small sentences, and the sentences sometimes of one letter, two letters, three letters, four letters, like that. Vriddhi ra daich, four letter, one sentence. A then gu na, four letters. T, one letter. Gu, bham, one letter. So like this, 4,000 sentences. And in that, he's explaining the totality of Sanskrit language, which is vast, immense, above 300 millions of vocabularies. But in that technicality, he has not forgotten the foundational principles, the philosophy of creation, the philosophy of life, and how he has brought it into the explanation of the language is amazing. I'll give you a simple example. There are hundreds of examples which can be pulled out. There is one, when we come to the governing rules, how the syntax happens. You say like, he is a boy. I am looking at the boy. Or it's done by the boy. Or I bring this thing from the boy. Or it belongs to that boy. Or in that boy there are many good qualities. So in English one uses all these prefixes, prepositions, from, at, to. In Sanskrit they are integrated into the word itself, so you don't have to use separate prepositions to bring out these senses. You say balakam, it means to the boy. So balakena, it means by the boy. Or balakat means from the boy. Okay. So now we all have read, like the first one is karta, the doer, subject. The second one is object, karma. The third one is the instrument, the sadhana, the karana. The fourth one, fifth one, sixth one, seventh one. In order we have read it, right? But in Panini, he doesn't follow this ordering of karta, karma, karana. He doesn't follow. What he follows? In Panini's Ashtadhyayi, the first one comes is apadana. Apadana means the fifth case. He is not talking first about the first case. He is speaking about the fifth case, apadana. So anyone would expect or question like, why apadana first? Why not karta first? Why not karma or karana or anything else? Why fifth one becoming first and the first one becoming last? So we contemplate on the fifth one becoming first. And what he says, he defines like this. This is what is Panini's Sutra. So dhruvam apaye apadanam. This is the sutra I am reading from Panini. Suppose there is a leaf is falling from the tree. Okay. Now we want to express this in Sanskrit. A leaf falls from the tree. Now Panini says we have to use like vrikshat patram patati. Vrikshat means from, patram leaf, patati falls. That vriksha is apadana. The terminology he uses is apadana. And how he explains? He says when there is a separation, apaya. The word apaya means separation. He says when a separation takes place, now when a separation takes place, so leaf is separated from the tree is also separated from the leaf. Now which one is apadana? Tree or the leaf? Okay, so Panini says, okay, you can have your guesses, but Panini will have a different thing. Panini says dhruvam. So that which is fixed part from which the separation takes place is apadana. The fixed part, dhruvam, apaye, apadana. Now look at from the philosophical point of view how Panini reconciles the technical aspect and the philosophical aspect. Apadanam is the beginning of the creation. Now if you translate this sentence philosophically, as I do, the eternal unmoving, dhruva, the eternal unmoving from which all movements proceed. Dhruvam, apaye, the eternal unmoving from which all movements proceed. How can you miss apadanam not having in the beginning? Because this is the beginning of the creation. The eternal unmoving, the supreme reality, he is achala, atala, immobile, the eternal unmoving from whom? From which all movements, because this is called jagat, because it's all movements, cycle within the cycle, movement within the movement. The eternal unmoving from which all movements proceed is apadana. How beautifully he reconciles the philosophy and the technique, you see. There are so many things like this. And next sutra he says, Bhitrarthanam bhaya hetu. That when you are afraid of something, the source of the fear is apadana. Has to be in fifth case. Suppose you are afraid of the tiger, so the tiger has to be in fifth case. Vyagrat vivhemi. I am afraid of the tiger. Now if you go deep, put a question mark. First Panini says, separation is the keynote of apadana. Now in the very next sutra he says, when you see the tiger and afraid of the tiger is apadana. Now this is contradiction. Because the fear comes when I meet the tiger, not when I am separated from the tiger. When the very thought, there is some union at the thought level or the physical level or the emotional level, the meeting happens, then only fear comes. Then is Panini contradicting himself? No. Now the source of fear is not tiger. Why am I afraid of tiger? Why am we don't want to die? Okay. Still, Panini takes you deep into what is there in the Vedas and Upanishads. If we need to understand the scriptures in that depth, we need to have this kind of insights from all scriptures. So Panini says very cleverly, makes it apadana, because the source of fear is not tiger, not thief, not the ghost, but the source of the fear is my own divided consciousness. Because I feel the separative ego sense which separates me from another. As long as there is a sense of another, the second, the fear comes. That happens in the relative world. If I am living in utter unity of consciousness, that there is no difference between me and the tiger, how the seers and sages of ancient the past they lived with the tiger, they slept with the tiger. There was in fact a spiritual guru. He wanted to find a place where he could establish his ashram, and he made a tour, and he found at one place a deer is sleeping with the lion. He said this place must have some spiritual value. So he made that place his ashram because the unity is there. So there is no fear element, there is no division. So as long as we live in the divided consciousness, we have all kinds of fear, apprehension, doubt, this, that, everything that happens in the relative world. So ultimately, that unity has to be established. So in this culture, you go to the Vedas, you go to the Upanishads, you go to the Gita, you go to all the philosophical texts, the two elements which need to be established within every one of us, ekatva and samatva, oneness and equality. Ekat, huh? That's a different issue. It can eat it can eat another deer, not the same deer. It will break at certain point of time. Then we don't call it unity. Huh? 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 Yeah, yeah. These two sutras. Okay, I'll write it now. So, what has been the the crux, the essential teaching of all the scriptures is to establish this ekatva and samatva and live in that state of ekatva and samatva. All scriptures, you will ultimately come to this point, ekatva and samatva. Hmm? Huh? Unity, samatva is equality or equanimity. And through these two words, you can interpret all the scriptures. Starting with these two words, you can interpret all the scriptures, go into all the scriptures. So, we take a break with silence, and then after the tea, we will meet for the next session.